Native Americans and Vegetarianism by Rita Laws, PhD. How well we know the stereotype of the rugged Plains Indian, killer of buffalo, dressed in quill-decorated buckskin, elaborately feathered headdress and leather moccasins, living in an animal skin teepee, master of the dog and horse, and stranger to vegetables. But this lifestyle, once limited almost exclusively to the Apaches, flourished no more than a couple of hundred years. It is not representative of most Native Americans of today or yesterday. Indeed, the buffalo as lifestyle phenomenon is a direct result of European influence, as we shall see. Among my own people, the Choctaw Indians of Mississippi and Oklahoma, vegetables are the traditional diet mainstay. A French manuscript of the 18th century describes the Choctaws' vegetarian leanings in shelter and food. The homes were constructed not of skins but of wood, mud, bark and cane. The principal food eaten daily from earthen pots was a vegetarian stew containing corn, pumpkin and beans. The bread was made from corn and acorns. Other common favourites were roasted corn and corn porridge. Meat in the form of small game was an infrequent repast. The ancient Choctaws were, first and foremost, farmers. Even the clothing was plant-based, artistically embroidered dresses for the women and cotton breeches for the men. Choctaws have never adorned their hair with feathers. The rich lands of the Choctaws in present-day Mississippi were so greatly coveted by 19th century Americans that most of the tribe were forcibly removed to what is now called Oklahoma. Oklahoma was chosen both because it was largely uninhabited and because several explorations of the territory had deemed the land barren and useless for any purpose. The truth, however, was that Oklahoma was so fertile a land that it was an Indian breadbasket. That is, it was used by Indians on all sides as an agricultural resource. Although many Choctaws suffered and died during removal on the infamous Trail of Tears, those that survived built a new and successful life in Oklahoma, their agricultural genius intact. George Catlin, the famous 19th century Indian historian, described the Choctaw lands of southern Oklahoma in the 1840s this way, quote, "The ground was almost literally covered with vines, producing the greatest profusion of delicious grapes, and hanging in such endless clusters. Our progress was oftentimes completely arrested by hundreds of acres of small plum trees. Every bush that was in sight was so loaded with the weight of its fruit that they had in many instances literally no leaves on their branches and quite bent to the ground, and beds of wild currants, gooseberries, and edible prickly pear." Unquote. Many of the wild foods Anglo explorers encountered on their journeys were actually carefully cultivated by Indians. Many of the Choctaw foods cooked at celebrations even today are vegetarian. Corn is so important to us it is considered divine. Our corn legend says that it was a gift from Hashtali, the Great Spirit. Corn was given in gratitude because Choctaws had fed the daughter of the Great Spirit when she was hungry. Hashtali is literally noonday sun. Choctaws believe the Great Spirit resides within the sun, for it is the sun that allows the corn to grow. Another Choctaw story describes the afterlife as a giant playground where all but murderers are allowed. What do Choctaws eat in heaven? Their sweetest treat, of course, melons, a never-ending supply. More than one tribe has creation legends which describe people as vegetarian, living in a kind of Garden of Eden. A Cherokee legend describes humans, plants, and animals as having lived in the beginning in equality and mutual helpfulness. The needs of all were met without killing one another. When man became aggressive and ate some of the animals invented diseases to keep human population in check. The plants remained friendly, however, and offered themselves not only as food to man, but also as medicine to combat the new diseases. More tribes were like the Choctaws than were different. Aztec, Mayan, and Zapotec children in olden times ate 100% vegetarian diets until at least the age of 10 years old. The primary food was cereal, especially varieties of corn. Such a diet was believed to make the child strong and disease-resistant. The Spaniards were amazed to discover that these Indians had twice the lifespan that they did. A totally vegetarian diet also ensured that the children would retain a lifelong love of grains and thus live a healthier life. Even today, the Indian healers of those tribes are likely to advise the sick to return to the arms of Mother Corn in order to get well. Such a return might include eating a lot of atole. The easiest way to make atole is to simmer commercially produced masa harina corn flour with water, then flavour it with chocolate or cinnamon and sweeten to taste. Atole is considered a sacred food. It is ironic that Indians are strongly associated with hunting and fishing, when in fact nearly half of all the plant foods grown in the world today were first cultivated by the American Indians and were unknown elsewhere until the discovery of the Americas. Can you imagine Italian food without tomato paste? Ireland without white potatoes? Or Hungarian goulash without paprika? All these foods have Indian origins. An incomplete list of other Indian foods given to the world includes bell peppers, red peppers, peanuts, cashews, sweet potatoes, avocados, passion fruit, zucchini, green beans, kidney beans, maple syrup, lima beans, cranberries, pecans, chocolate, vanilla, sunflower seeds, pumpkin, walnuts, 47 varieties of berries, pineapple, and of course, corn and popcorn. Many history textbooks tell the story of Squanto, a Patuxent Indian who lived in the early 1600s. Squanto is famous for having saved the pilgrims from starvation. He showed them how to gather wilderness foods and how to plant corn. There have been thousands of Squantos since, even though their names are not so well known. In fact, modern-day agriculture owes its heart and soul to Indian-taught methods of seed development, hybridization, planting, growing, irrigating, storing, utilizing, and cooking. And the spirit of Squanto survives to this day. One example is a Peruvian government research station tucked away in a remote Amazon Indian village called Genaro Herrera. University-trained botanists, agronomists, and foresters work there, scientifically studying all the ways the local Indians grow and prepare food. They are also learning how to utilize forests without destroying them, and how to combat pests without chemicals.